this is incredible. This is Devin Nunes questioning Mueller. Take a look.
Let's continue with the ongoing, or the opening of the investigation, supposedly on July 31st, 2016. The investigation was not opened based on an official product from Five Eyes Intelligence, but based on a rumor conveyed by Alexander Downer. On Volume 1, page 89, your report describes him blandly as a representative of a foreign government. But he was actually a long-time Australian politician, not a military or intelligence official, who had previously arranged a $25 million donation to the Clinton Foundation and has previous ties to Dearlove. So Downer conveys a rumor he supposedly heard about a conversation between Papadopoulos and Joseph Mifsud. James Comey has publicly called Mifsud a Russian agent.
So James Comey, the guy who was his predecessor, called Mifsud a Russian agent. It gets worse. Honestly, this is incredible that nobody in the UK is talking about this. I'll get to that in a minute.
Yet your report does not refer to Mifsud as a Russian agent. Mifsud has extensive contacts with Western governments and the FBI. For example, there is a recent photo of him standing next to Boris Johnson, the new Prime Minister of Great Britain. What we're trying to figure out here, Mr. Mueller, is if our NATO allies or Boris Johnson have been compromised.
Did you hear that? What we're trying to find out here is if our NATO allies or Boris Johnson, our Prime Minister, has been compromised. That is a United States congressman. He sits on the Senate Intelligence Committee, I believe, Devin Nunes. And he's asking the director of the FBI if the Prime Minister of this country is compromised by Russia. Take a listen again.
Mifsud is a Russian agent. Mifsud has extensive contacts with Western governments and the FBI. For example, there is a recent photo of him standing next to Boris Johnson, the new Prime Minister of Great Britain. What we're trying to figure out here, Mr. Mueller, is if our NATO allies or Boris Johnson have been compromised. So we're trying to figure out, Comey says Mifsud is a Russian agent, you do not. So do you stand by what's in the report?
I'd stand by that which is in the report, and not so necessarily with that which is not in the report.
I want to return to Mr. Downer. He denies that Papadopoulos mentioned anything to him about Hillary Clinton's emails, and in fact, Mifsud denies mentioning to Papadopoulos. He denies that Papadopoulos mentioned anything to him about Hillary Clinton's emails. And in fact, Mifsud denies mentioning them to Papadopoulos in the first place. So how does the FBI know to continually ask Papadopoulos about Clinton's emails for the rest of 2016? Even more strangely, your sentencing memo on Papadopoulos blames him for hindering the FBI's ability to potentially detain or arrest Mifsud. But the truth is, Mifsud waltzed in and out of the United States in December 2016. The US media could find him, the Italian press found him, and he's a supposed Russian agent at the epicenter of the purported collusion conspiracy. He's the guy who knows about Hillary Clinton's emails and that the Russians have them. But the FBI failed to question him for a half a year after officially opening the investigation. And then according to Volume 1, page 193 of your report, once Mifsud finally was questioned, he made false statements to the FBI. But you declined to charge him. Is that correct? You did not indict Mr. Mifsud?
Well, I'm not going to speak to the series of happenings as you articulated them.
He won't even admit that he didn't charge Mifsud. He won't even say he didn't charge Mifsud.
You did not indict Mr. Mifsud.
Time of the gentleman has expired.
Pardon?
You did not indict Mr. Mifsud.
True.
Oh, he finally does. But you can see that that's a US congressman in the middle of that. And he was saying, Boris Johnson's compromised here. We need to find out. He was asking the former director of the FBI, I assume he's retired now that the investigation has finished and concluded. But he's asking the director of the FBI, the chief of this report, if our prime minister in this country is compromised. Look at this. I did a Google search on it. The only two articles I can find with Boris Johnson compromised in there, and Devon Nunes for good measure, were these two. One from the Mirror, which basically tries to make out, look at this, that Mifsud is still a Russian. It says here, his photo with Mifsud, the Kremlin-linked professor. It says Kremlin-linked professor there in that tweet. That's what the Mirror are trying to highlight there, that he's a Kremlin-linked. If he was Kremlin-linked, geniuses in the media, in the Mirror, if he was Kremlin-linked, why, after lying 3 times to the FBI, did the FBI not indict him? They indicted 12 Russians based on some Bernie memes. Some memes that Bernie in LGBTQ colours. And Satan arm wrestling God. They arrested those 12 guys, but not the one guy who lied to the FBI 3 times, who started this all, who they say in the Mirror here is a Kremlin-linked professor. The other article was in the Metro, a free paper in the UK, a free paper. Top US politician asked if Boris Johnson could have been compromised by a Russian spy, making out that it was a crazy nutman. He's a crazy nutman for asking this. Why is he asking this? And you can see there the comments. This yank is a real reds under the bed loony. No! Of course, they have framed it in the wrong way in the media. Devon Nunes there was trying to point out the whole stupidity of calling him a Russian spy, of Comey calling him a Russian spy, the FBI director, the previous FBI director, calling him a Russian spy, when obviously he's not. Because otherwise, surely he would have been indicted and arrested as well, along with the 12 Russians that were responsible for those Bernie memes and God arm wrestling Satan. He's trying to point out the hypocrisy, the stupidity of it all, and the media don't get it. Do you think that they don't get it on purpose? Do you think that they really suck this bad, or do you think that maybe they've been told they can't cover this? I know which one I'm thinking. What more proof do you need after seeing that we don't have an operating fourth estate in this country?